Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm just telling the introduction because it was actually really noisy with all the planes leaving the airfield. So just to say welcome and welcome back to you. This is the second video of the series of tutorial that I'm proposing to you. I'm actually reviewing the pilot's flight operating instructions for Army models P-47D 25 to 35 and the pilot training manual for the Thunderbolt. In this video we're going to see the description of the plane that is made on the pilot's flight operating instructions, and the next video will be the description made of the plane by the pilot training manual for the Thunderbolt. Alright, enjoy the video and we'll see you next time. Bye. So let's go to the cockpit now. For the power controls, so we have a conventional quadrant here with a throttle, boost, mixture, and propeller level. We also have spring-loaded latches. To permit intermediate operations. There's a lot of noise here. We are in the basic mission, cold start mission, in a channel map for the P-47. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. So the fuel system for general. The main fuel supply consists of 370 US gallons carried in 2 fuel tanks, the main tank and the auxiliary tank. You can also add 1 belly tank and 2 tanks under the wings. For the internal tanks, they are right under the pilot, in front of the pilot. Fuel is supplied to the carburetor by means of an engine-driven pump assisted by an electric-driven variable speed booster pump installed in the sump of each internal tank and controlled by a rheostat on the main switch panel. The rheostat is here. Level gauges in the cockpit indicate your fuel in each internal tank. When the air tank is in level flight position, a 3-point correction chart is posted on the left wall of the cockpit, calculating your fuel when the air tank is in here, and you have what it stands for. So for example, if you have in the main tank 200 gallons, it's actually 203 gallons, and you have the same thing for the auxiliary tank. Alright, so when only approximately 40 US gallons of fuel remain in the main tank, a fuel level warning light in the instrument panel will glow, and it is here. Alright, so you have less than 40 gallons, this will glow. Fuel pressure is read on the lower right scale of the engine gauge unit, which is here. Conventional selector valves, here and here, permit operation from each tank individually and must be switched to the tank desired, as no internal transfer system is used. To facilitate starting and cold weather operation, an engine primer here. It's located in the right forward side of the cockpit, and an oil dilution system controlled by a switch here. Is provided. The carburetor is of the fuel injection type and is equipped with a vapor return line that empties about 10 US gallons of fuel per hour into the main tank. Right now let's talk about the tanks. So the main tank is located forward of the cockpit and has a total capacity of 270 US gallons. The main tank is vented by a line to the right wing just outboard of the wheel well, and the drain line runs to a clock outside the fuselage at the trailing edge of the right wing. The auxiliary tank has a total capacity of 100 US gallons. Vent and drain lines terminate just outside the fuselage skin at the right wing trailing edge. External tanks. Alright, I'm gonna pause and load external tanks, but you see how it looks like. Yeah, I forgot, we don't have the fuel tanks yet. They will come out, but we don't have them yet. Anyway, for external tanks, we have 165 US gallon per wing tank, and we have 110 US gallon or 75 US gallon for the belly tank. The tanks are hung from standard Army type B10 or B7 bomb shackle mounted in the belly, and from combat wing tank adapters located just outboard of the landing gear main strut. So right here you can see it right there on the left of the landing gear, and here on the belly, and here on the right of the landing gear. A tank pressurizing system is employed to assist the engine dreamer pump in delivering fuel to the carburetor. On models up to and including P-47D 27, so that's our case, tank release control handles are located on the left side of the cockpit, just after the main fuel selector cock. Looks like it's not modeled yet. Alright, so we're gonna continue. So there should be 6 control handles provided on this bracket, all appropriately marked. 3 are tank releases, and the other 3 arm and safe controls for use when bombs are carried in the racks. Models P-47D 28 through P-47D 30, which is our case, have 3 T-type tank release handles mounted on the parking brake controls bracket, which are here. Alright, so you know, we actually don't have in this version the bracket I was talking about a few seconds ago. We have these end handles, so to release left wing tank, right wing tank, and belly tank, or bombs. In addition to the manual release controls, models P-47D 30 and later are equipped with electrical tank or bomb releases which are operated by the button on top of the control stick. So these are the switches, and this is the button, so you have to bind it on your stick. Alright, so we'll see that in another video, but what you gotta do is select the bomb that you want to use here, and then you drop it pressing this button. Alright, now let's talk about the fuel pumps. So first, the main fuel pump, which is a positive displacement engine driven type G9 pump mounted on the engine accessory section. The pump is balanced against supercharged air to maintain constant flow and pressure, which increases in altitude. In the event of failure of the main pump, an internal bypass valve will open, permitting fuel under booster pump pressure to pass through the carburetor. For the booster pumps, it's an electric-driven variable speed booster pump mounted in the sump of each internal fuel tank. The proper booster pump is turned on automatically by means of a rotary switch mounted on the selector valve control shaft. When the selector valve is turned to main or auxiliary, which is here, so here it's on main, here it's on auxiliary, alright, here it's off. When either booster pump is turned on, its speed is controlled by the booster pump emergency rheostat, which is located on the main switch panel, which is this rheostat. Alright, now for external tank pressurizing. When external tanks are used, a tank pressurizing system is employed to assist the manual fuel pump. Exhaust air from the instrument vacuum system is led to the tanks through a pressure control valve which supplies pressure in accordance with altitude requirements. Since all external tanks are connected to the same source of pressure, those lines not in must be capped at all times. Caution: when external tanks are used, none should be dropped until all are empty, as the pressurizing system would be inoperative. Now the fuel gauges. First, the pressure gauge. Fuel pressure is indicated by the fuel pressure section of the engine gauge unit, right here. Here. The gauge is balanced against carburetor air to read correctly at altitude. Operating pressures are ruled with colored lacquer on the cover glass. Quantity gauge. An electrically operated compound gauge mounted on the instrument panel reads directly in US gallons the amount of fuel in each internal tank, right here, when the airplane is in flight position. When approximately 40 US gallons remain in the main tank, the fuel level warning light here will glow. No quantity gauges are included for the external tanks, but their contents may be estimated by use of the fuel consumption data contained in flight operation instruction charts. Then selector valves, which are right here. So these are two conventional 4-position selector valves incorporated in the system. The main valve controls main, auxiliary, off, and external. It is located here, so on the left hand side of the cockpit, just aft of the main switch panel. The secondary cock uses 3 positions only: belly, so here belly, left tank, right tank, and is located in the cockpit floor to the right and forward of the main valve. As you can see here, to draw fuel from the external tanks, it is necessary to turn the secondary selector valve to the desired external tanks and then switch the main valve to external. So if for instance you want to use the belly tank, and it's right here, we gotta select, like for example you're in main, you're flying, you select the belly tank and then you go external, not external and then belly tanks. Now the engine primer, right here. So the engine priming system consists of a hand-operated pump mounted on the instrument panel. Fuel is pumped by the tank booster pump to the primer, which injects it directly into the engine. Oil dilution. To facilitate cold weather starting, an oil dilution system is provided. It employs a solenoid valve operated by a switch on the main switch box, right here. Opening of the valve permits gasoline to flow directly into the engine oil system, diluting the oil. Oil system. The engine oil supply is carried in a pendulum-equipped hopper-type tank located in the upper part of the engine section. A filler neck is accessible through a cowl door marked oil in the upper left side of the secondary cowling. A total capacity of the tank is 28 US gallons, of which 19 US gallons is a normal supply and the remainder overload. Oil temperature is regulated by two oil coolers installed one on each side of the lower part of the engine compartment at the fresh air screw. The flow of air through the cooler is controlled by adjustable split doors located in the exit ducts, operated electrically and controlled from the cockpit by a toggle switch. The switch is right here, oil cooler. So you operate with this one. The oil radiators are equipped with thermostatic valves which operate in conjunction with surge valves to permit the oil at excessive pressure resulting from cold oil to bypass the coolers completely and return directly to the tank. To facilitate cold weather engine starting, a standard oil dilution system is incorporated. Operated by a toggle on the main switch box, it permits gasoline to flow into the engine oil system. So as you can see here, it's kinda repetitive, but like it's important so that you remember it. Alright, let's go back to it with the hydraulic system. All you gotta know is that it operates the landing gear, wing flaps and cowl flaps. So, landing gear, flaps and cowl flaps that are right here. So it operates these things with pressure supplied by an engine-driven pump. The fluid is drawn from the 1.9 US gallon supply tank in the upper section of the engine compartment and pumped into the system through a pressure regulator. This unit admits fluid to the system when the system pressure drops to 800 psi and returns fluid to the supply tank when system pressure reaches 1000 psi. An accumulator containing 6.6 cubic inches of fluid and charged with compressed air is used between cut-in and cut-out pressures. A hand pump is installed on the left of the pilot's seat for use in the event of engine-driven pump fails. So yeah, we should have here a hand pump, which we don't have. We might have it on the D30 early version with the Mark 8 gun sight. We'll see in the future. Maybe you know if you watch this later. So just know that there should be a hand pump in case there is a failure of the hydraulic system, particular when you want to operate the flaps and the landing gear. Alright, now let's talk about the supercharging system. A General Electric Type C series turbo supercharger is installed in the lower section of the fuselage aft of the cockpit. The engine exhaust gases are directed to the turbine wheel of the supercharger through exhaust pipes on each side of the fuselage. We can see these exhaust pipes. Yeah, they are. We can't actually see them because they are closed, but they are on the right side of the the star, you know, there's the American star and a band on the right, so it's located here on the band, and same place in we see it better here, you know, we can see it on the left side of the star this time. Alright, so fresh air is collected in the scoop beneath the engine, so right here beneath the engine, and conducted to the compression section of the supercharger. Heat generated during compression is dissipated by passing the supercharged air through an intercooler, which is cooled by a portion of fresh air blast. The quantity of fresh air flowing through the intercooler is controlled by exit duct doors, which are electrically operated and activated by a toggle switch, which is right here. And we can see how closed or open it is like this. So all models include a built-in air filter, which may be bypassed by using the control handle located to the left and aft of the pilot's seat, so which I trust we don't have here. The quantity of supercharged air directed to the carburetor is determined by the setting of the booster lever on the engine control quadrant, right here. This lever sets an engine oil operated regulator, which is balanced against exhaust pressure. When engine exhaust pressure drops, the supercharger regulator closes a waste gate in each exhaust pipe, which permits more of the engine exhaust gases to be directed against the turbine wheel of the supercharger, thus maintaining boost. Alright, now let's talk about the water injection system. So the water injection system permits operation at war emergency power of 64 inches of mercury manifold pressure and approximately 30% increase over military horsepower. The system consists of a 30 US gallon supply tank, an engine-driven pump, a water regulator, a derailleur valve assembly, and an automatic booster reset mechanism. The system is controlled by a momentary switch on the throttle lever here, which opens a solenoid valve admitting water to the regulator, which mirrors it to the engine. At the same time, water pressure actuates the booster reset mechanism, which increases manifold pressure. Ambient temperatures in the engine compartment prevent freezing of water supply when the engine is running and in flight. However, if the system is to be serviced before the engine is operating, alcohol must be added to prevent freezing when ground temperature is so indicates. The electric system is a 24-volt DC single-wire grounded type, energized primarily from a 100-amp generator. A storage battery is mounted on the right side of the firewall, and a meter is located on the main switch box, which is for the D30 version. The ammeter is right here. A plug in the right forward engine cowl, reached through an access door, permits the attachment of an external source of power for flight line service. So we're gonna set it, for instance, it's basically the ground.
Chief, turn on the ground power.
The ground power.
Copy. Ground power is now on.
Now, surface controls, ailerons and elevators. All metal balance control surfaces are operated with the conventional stick type control. On models P-47D 30 and later, a refined aileron of the blunt nose type is used. The blunt nose type surface enhances the possibility of aileron buffeting in high-speed dives. On all models, Adjustable trim tabs are built into the left aileron and the trailing edges of the elevators, so we can see them right here. We can see them on the elevator and the rudder, and they are operated by fixed trim tabs installed on the right disc. So this is for the rudder trim, aileron trim, and elevator trim. So the wing flaps. Each wing flap extends from the fuselage to the aileron here, and may be fully extended or held in any intermediate position by use of the control unit in the cockpit right here. So you can have it neutral, on, down, and up. So how you use it? For instance, you want it to be, so you have your flaps down like this, and you want them to be up, so you put the lever on up. If you want to, if they are raised and you want to lower them completely, you go on down and they will go down on their own. But if you want to lock them in a special angle, so you are in the up setting, you go down, and when they are at the angle you want, you set them to neutral. It's as simple as that. Compressibility recovery flaps. Models P-47D 30 and later incorporate electrically operated compressibility recovery flaps located in the undersurface of each wing, just outboard of the landing gear shock strut. The flap motors are operated by a switch mounted alongside the propeller switch box in the cockpit and are interconnected to ensure synchronized action. And they are right here. So you use them if you are in a dive and you have issues recovering from the dive. The landing gear. Main gear. The main gear units are full cantilever independent right and left air oil shock struts mounted in the wing and retracted hydraulically. Hydraulically controlled downlock mechanism retains the gear in its extended position, and a mechanical uplock assists hydraulic pressure in holding the gear in its retracted position. The gear is controlled by a unit in the cockpit, which is right here. A warning light is provided to indicate whenever the gear is in transit, here. So it is red when the gear is in transit, and it's green when the gear is down. Now the tail wheel. The tail wheel is a free swiveling hydraulically retractable unit. A mechanical uplock aids hydraulic pressure in retaining the gear in retracted position, and an extension spring maintains a mechanical advantage built into the unit which holds it extended. The tail wheel may be locked in the force and aft position by the control handle to the right of the cockpit seat, right here. So here it is unlocked and here it is locked. For the instruments, most of the instruments are mounted in a shock-resistant panel forward of the pilot. The exceptions are oxygen gauges on a sub-panel to the right. Now the cockpit heading and defrosting. Fresh air is gathered near the main duct, passed through a header at the exhaust collector ring, and then to the defroster unit at the base of the windshield and the cockpit header between the rudder pedals. Forward of the firewall is a butterfly valve operated by the defroster control right here in the cockpit, which directs heated air to the cockpit or overboard. Cockpit cooling. A vent in the leading edge of the right wing admits fresh air to the cockpit through a distributor between the rudder pedals. A control which admits or restricts the fresh air is located on the right cockpit wall, right here. Now the lights. A sealed beam landing light is installed in the lower surface of the left wing panel. Normally it is retracted with its lens flush. Extension is automatic as the switch is turned to X. And it is right here. You can see it here on the left wing. There we go. Conventional position lights are installed in each wingtip and rudder trailing edge. Switches are mounted on the switch main box. So they are here. You can see them right here, here, and on the tail. Recognition lights mounted in the wing are controlled by switches on a sub-panel to the right of the instrument panel, right here. Cowl flaps. Engine cooling is achieved by adjustable cowl flaps. They are hydraulically operated and controlled by a valve control mounted on a sub-panel to the right of the main instrument panel, right here. So these are the cowl flaps, and this is the valve control. Any intermediate setting may be obtained by releasing the control when the desired position is attained. Canopy. The full vision bubble type canopy is electrically operated and controlled by a toggle switch right here. You can see the special sound. Yeah. So the canopy will remain locked in any position by releasing the toggle. In emergencies, the canopy is jettisonable with pulling the T-type handle located on the right side of the forward bow. It is right here. Pilot seat. The pilot seat is adjustable for height by lifting the lock-release handle located on the right side. I guess we don't have it here. Anyway, we don't need it. The seat accommodates a seat-type parachute and is equipped with standard shoulder harness, which are not modeled here, with the spring release or lock control on the left side. So now that I have explained the cockpit with the pilot's flight operating instructions, we're going to go through everything that is in the cockpit and say what it is. So we're going to start with the instrument panel right here. So the first thing to know is the compressibility recovery flap switch here. We have then electric propeller switch here. Here there should be a altimeter scale correction card, so we can see that we can put one here, but we don't have it in DCS. And we have the ammeter, the clock, the airspeed indicator, the landing gear warning lights, the turn indicator, the rate of climb indicator, the compass, the fuel level warning lights, so we can test it by pushing it, the artificial horizon right here, the defroster control right here, the manifold pressure gauge right here, the engine tachometer right here, the carburetor air temperature gauge right here, the turbo supercharger tachometer right here, the oil gauge line service, which we don't have here, Alright, the master battery switch right here, ignition switch right here, the altimeter, bank and turn indicator, sanction gauge, bomb and tank release controls, here the parking brake control, here the electric bomb and tank release selector panel, here the water pressure gauge, here the hydraulic pressure gauge, here the fuel quantity gauge, here the oxygen flow indicator, here the starter switch, here the oxygen pressure gauge, here the cylinder head temperature gauge, here engine gauge unit right here. So we have oil pressure, oil temperature and fuel pressure. Then let's go on the right side. We have right here a microphone connector plug and here headphone connector plug. Here we have the oxygen demand regulator, the radio receiver, volume control. Here we have the control box assembly, the oxygen feeder hose, the beam receiver, some cockpit lights, the oxygen flow indicator right here, the oxygen pressure gauge here, the cockpit vent control here, the tailwheel lock control here, the map case here, the secret radio detonator here, so it's in case you have to do an emergency landing in enemy territory, you push it the 2 buttons at a time to destroy it, so that the enemy cannot know all the frequencies and everything. Now let's switch to the left side of the cockpit. So we have the landing gear control, the intercooler and oil cooler shutter position indicators right here, the gun and camera switch here, the intercooler and oil cooler shutter switches here and here, the canopy switch here, the engine control quadrant here, so this is this whole thing, the 3-point fuel correction chart here, the hydraulic hand pump that we may have in the D30 early, and we'll see in the future, the trim tab control unit here, the landing gear control here, oh yeah, sorry, the landing flaps, it's here actually. Alright, main fuel selector valve here, fuel booster pump rheostat here. Okay, so now we have completed the description of the plane by the pilot flight operating instructions. So we'll do the same thing but with the pilot training manual for the Thunderbolt in the next video. So it will be pretty much the same thing, but there will be some things added to it. So I recommend you to watch it. To make sure you don't miss it, you can subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, you can like it. If you didn't like it, you can dislike it. Comment, share, anything, do what you want. And we'll see you next time for the description of the plane by the pilot training manual for the Thunderbolt. See you!